right, everybody. Greetings and welcome once more, Discussing Tabletop. Of course, reached the 11th of October. The spooky season is technically going, but I'm not doing a lot for the spooky season, I have to confess.
That's fair.
I was going to originally. It's just like a lot of like little weird things have happened here and there, so it's just been like a busy first half, and I just at this point in time I don't know if I necessarily want to pivot. Maybe what I'll do is like around Halloween I'll break out for like one of the weeks, say like one of the like the Resident Evil randomizers, like RE2 randomizer, the original one has had a crap ton of updates since I last played that one. It was fun.
Okay.
So maybe I'll break that out. Maybe. Anyway, hope everybody had a great week. I know mine was pretty good. Pretty interesting little like ups and downs and stuff. How would you describe it?
I spent way too long at work fixing some stuff, like basically setting up a sheet for my equipment for my 2E game. I'm really having to I'm at this point where I'm getting tired of having to like cobble everything together. I'm going to do the thing I do sometimes where I just make spreadsheets for everything. And that's going to happen for this game now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fine. I feel like, the power of the spreadsheet helps in a lot of ways sometimes when you need it anyway.
I mean, when you can also do things like lambda functions and, like crazy queries and sorts and stuff, it really helps streamline some things.
That's one of those things that I'm like, I respect that, but I wouldn't do that. I think that's where I'm at with the entire thing. It's like, that's neat. I wouldn't do that, but that's neat.
Again, like, I'm a programmer at heart, and so I like to do that kind of stuff.
I can't say I haven't done things equivalent, though, in certain ways. There's certainly been, like, a lot of, like, activities I've done that are pretty, like, intensive when it comes to some games and stuff like that. Certain big chunks of planning and stuff like that. I've definitely gone pretty crazy before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, well, we're going to be diving in, and we're going to be getting a nice little bit of topics today. It was very weird, though, kind of researching the topics. Like, it was the back end of my research. I finally, like, was starting to assemble, like, topics. Like, as I was starting out, there was, like, seemingly felt like there was nothing going on. Which is not completely unusual, but it is on the rarer side. So. Anyway.
Okay.
So I guess we can start with, hey, we were talking about the big schedule for Magic, and it does turn out people were right, and I think, didn't we talk about that it could have been Ninja Turtles from the Nickelodeon panel?
I went through a number of things, and yes, I think that was one of the ones that came up. I think I said it could be like SpongeBob, Ninja Turtles, or something else.
It was Ninja Turtles, turns out.
Yeah.
Again, this is that... I think someone expressed it very well for Universes Beyond, and it's... people like when Universes Beyond feels like it could fit within the idea of a multiverse and the magic and stuff. Oh, sorry, I can grab the first one here. I've got a couple of links for it. I forgot just to put it in chat. That's on me. That's me forgetting. I'll provide the couple of ones I've got here.
Sometimes I do just find my own links.
Sometimes
that was more me just being passive aggressive.
I would have remembered eventually, but it would have been like much later, so it was good to be passive aggressive there. I mean, like I'm gonna say on the surface, it looks fine, and like this is like a weird property for it because like it is also still just a regular place. Like I think that's where there's been a lot of disconnect, and apparently like it seems more and more Spider-Man has been incredibly unpopular, at very least in the actual, like, Magic players. I saw a video from someone that I've seen them around before in the Magic community, but I don't watch them pretty regularly, and they were just talking about how, like, at the launch in Atlanta when there's the big Magic. They call it a Magic Con, but it's not. It's kind of like both a convention, but also it's like where you go and like play and do stuff to get into the big like tournaments for Magic for the year. The qualifiers are there and stuff like that for a lot of the big tournaments. So anyway, the panels that were related to Spider-Man were either dead or moved to smaller rooms. Yeah. So it tells you something about it. Like, I don't think Ninja Turtles will be that bad. But there was also a lot of other problems with this. But I feel like it's also like it's on that border there. Like Final Fantasy, Avatar, even things like what we've already had out before, Fallout, Warhammer. Sure, Fallout and Warhammer are a little bit more grounded in reality, but they're very fanciful versions of reality. And the other ones are very fanciful worlds, even if they are grounded in a technology, they're very different, so they kind of can fit in with some aesthetics where, like, Spider-Man's just in New York, where we have New York things. Are we going to get New York things?
And I feel like
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I feel like there was kind of this thing where it's like, okay, when they were like one-offs for the secret layers, it was kind of okay.
Yeah.
But like doing them as the whole sets seems to be a big problem. Because like, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna agree with, and by basically saying like the secret layers we talked about the other week. I don't mind the reprints of the like skins of the Office stuff. I don't mind that at all. I don't know who's that's for, because that's again like I guess they're still fans of the Office, but it's like a little out of date. It's 12 years off and stuff like that, etc., etc. And even like because I did hear about it. The mechanically unique Jaws, they are going to do a universes within version of that because there's one card. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Also, like, I looked at that card. It's neat. It's not crazy. Like, even if you never printed that again, I feel like it wouldn't blow up the scene, for that, And I think when it's, like, one-offs like that, I'm a little bit more, like, even, like, back in the days when it was, like, The Walking Dead, I'm like, I don't really like this, but they weren't crazy enough that everybody needed them.
That reminds me. So you remember the Iron Maiden ones?
Mm-hmm.
I found out apparently there is a history of Iron Maiden association with D&D.
Okay. That kind of makes it interesting.
Now, I found a lot of... Now, to be fair, that was TSR. But, like, I found a lot of, like... I was going through some stuff, and I found a lot of... for my 2E game. And I ran into, like, a number of Iron Maiden references. And it's like, I wouldn't have pieced that together had we not had that last week. It's like, okay, maybe that's why there's some kind of connection there, and why they did it. I don't know if there was like an anniversary or something, but like, yeah, apparently there is that connection there between D&D, and so I'm not surprised it ended up in Magic because of Wizards.
And here's the thing I could say like about it is like, I'm not necessarily an Iron Maiden fan, but again, like I don't mind those. Like a lot of the like crossover stuff with Secret Layers, especially I just mind.
Remember you were like asking like why is this here suddenly?
It's the idea of like I don't mind it conceptually, but it's like also like it feels like sometimes in the Secret Layers they're grasping by straws, and that's a good place for where you can reprint things and have collector's pieces, which is something they do like. Like again, it was also like
I mean. Ultimately, the people who make them the most money are the collectors. Let's be real.
Yeah.
The people who give them all the exposure are the tournament people. Because, well, that's the thing. If you want a card, you buy from the people trying to sell the collectors. Your individuals.
It's the thing is, for collectors, there's collector boosters, which are very expensive. For normal players, there's play boosters. They don't have to cross over each other. It was a thought that I wasn't actually thinking about until recently. I saw, again, the same person was talking about, like, the Universe of Beyond mentioned that, and I was like, that makes complete sense. Like, I kind of disliked the collector's boosters because they felt they were too expensive, but I'm like, also like, yeah, they're for people that want them and can afford them normally. I just feel like sometimes that FOMO can get to people that can't afford them, and that's why I worry about it.
Yeah, it's, again, I think, like, Magic and stuff kind of hits that gambling addiction thing that is not very good.
Yeah.
Like I think it really does get into the gambling addiction side of some people's brains.
Oh, I know. I have that. I know I have an addictive personality if I'm not careful. I manage that a lot. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, same with like, blind boxes and all those kind of things that have been around for a while, which have kind of skated the rules. I think we need more strict rules about what counts as gambling, because
I agree.
especially how predatory it is nowadays.
Yes.
Uh,
But again, like that's kind of why I go back to like we have sets conceptually that sometimes I'm like better with and not with. Again, I think it's a thing of I never thought Universes Beyond was necessarily a bad thing. I think it's one, there's too much of it out now. And I think that's what was said best was it's because of deals. That's why we're getting so much of it. Because when they're putting together these deals, they have timelines they have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the biggest issue with Universes Beyond and and those kind of and Universes Beyond, basically are the unique cards and the fact that they keep putting out unique cards and not doing in-universe one.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like, I mean, we've talked about it before. They're never going to be able to reprint half of them because deals.
Like, at very least, I could say they could reprint the Spider-Man because they made a second set. It's just not physical right now. They could always take those versions that are on Arena and reprint those. It's stupid.
Yeah.
But they could.
There probably are some, like... Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They could make deals that include reprints, but that's entirely dependent on the person who owns the IP, and...
Yeah, it's a whole different beast when you're working with IPs that, like... It does sound like the people in upper management are like ka-ching cash, while the people that are actually working with the game are like, well, you're creating an entire can of worms we have to deal with. We have to deal with, schedules because of the deals you're making. We have to worry about, like, maybe you're giving us information on how to build the set. Like, what characters are going to be the most important kind of things like that we can't, like, build how we feel like builds a Magic set, We have to kind of move things around. And then...
Oh, and
if we make a mistake...
I guarantee part of the deals... Yeah, and I guarantee you that if that part of the deals... Like, I was thinking about this. You remember we talked about how it's all like, oh, look how much press this is getting. I guarantee you part of the deal is probably the press. I hadn't really thought about that till now, but that's probably not entirely... That's probably part of it, and if not... They're trying to... the reason they're pushing it more is because they're trying to recoup potential imbalance, because, they're not getting all the money. They had to pay to get the rights, to then use them, and then get money from it.
Yeah. It's
one of those two things, but I would not be surprised if it's like, well, the whole point of sharing this stuff is to kind of promote cross-platform.
Yeah. It is a weird spot to be in, too, because, again, like, I'll bring up something from the video. I'll have to... I think I linked it in my Discord. I can't check right now because I interfered with the video, but I think I did link that video in my Discord. I should check that now on my phone. I did, from Brian Kibler. He brought up also like a good point that like plans to do stuff with standard have been thrown out the window. Think about VV Cauldron. Plans, things like that are going to be more prolific because before the previous year, they switched to a 3-year cycle on standard, which was supposed to be helpful. But when we had this year with like 6 sets in standard, which normally there was 3 to 4 sets in standard. That's between like 66 to like you're at very least adding 50% more cards, if not some in certain circumstances, certain years, doubling the amount of cards in standard. And you've already increased the amount of time standard's going to rotate, meaning the format is going to be messier, And then something like, because now they also rotate at the beginning of the year, a cycle of cards they started in Edge of Eternities, the Shocklands, is going to be completed in Lorwyn, which is the beginning of next year. Okay. So a cycle, which you would want to basically be in the same rotation, will not rotate together now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they basically printed, because they're supposed to be 2 color lands that you can have them come into play, usable if you take some damage. That's the shock part of it, So
Okay.
they either come into play tap, you can't use it the first turn, or you can shock yourself, you get them right away. And so I think they printed the enemy color variants in Edge of Eternities, and they're going to do the ally color in Lorwyn. I think. I don't know the exact. It's one or the other of this cycle, basically. But that means the ones from Edge are going to rotate out of Standard before the Lorwyn ones are. An entire year. And these things basically are mana fixes for major decks sometimes.
Yeah.
So unless they have a replacement cycle of lands.
So basically, to get these special lands, some colors now have those lands, but others don't. Is basically the issue.
Some color combinations, yes.
Yeah.
So it might be that your green-white deck will work for whatever you're building it will work for the next couple of years. But then there'll be a year where your green-white deck will have more problems than a white-blue deck or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yes, because the rotation. Yep. Okay.
Because the rotation. So. And especially things when you get to 3-color decks in Standard require stuff like that. A lot more. And again, they might come up with another land cycle to help this, but we don't know at this point in time. And they have to be careful to get something that can be as good, but not too good. It's that kind of weird thing of finding the balance in building the set, but you also have to. And again, too many cards. A lot of Universes Beyond, and, it's coming back to the same problems. And I think, I just think Ninja Turtles is too much like Spider-Man, too. Because we're back in New York.
Yeah. Literally. No, I was gonna literally say, we literally haven't moved locations, worldwide.
Yeah. It's just a lot of the same thing. And again, I liked the earlier a bunch of Ninja Turtles stuff. I was I've always said I'm a very very heavy 90s kid. You know what that had? The late 80s 90s Ninja Turtles, the original animated series. I had some of those toys. It was something I was a fan of back in the day. So I've always been kind of as though I don't necessarily like a lot of stuff that's come out in the franchise. It's always got that soft spot, And those live action movies, they were movies.
I mean, basically the way I only saw the first one. The first one wasn't atrocious.
That's true.
I thought it was fun.
Yes.
It was fun. It wasn't good. It was fun.
Yeah. And again, I don't think I have anything against this entire whatever they're going to do with it. It seems in a lot of ways fine. I looked at the card image gallery. There's not a lot there, and it's fine. But again, is this going to be enough? And are they going to have to draw from enough extended material? Because
yeah. So is this everything? Is this everything?
Well, again,
it was a very small set.
We haven't seen everything. This is the tease since they just announced.
Got it. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. So the card image gallery is basically everything they've teased at this point in time, which it seems like there's going to be a special game mode that involves bosses. At least they showed off what a mutagen token is, which is I don't mind that one. It's another type of token that it comes into play. You sacrifice, put a +1/+1 counter on something. Great. They've already had ones for gaining life and drawing cards and other weird tokens that they create versions of. That's fine, And are we just going to be? I mean, that's the thing is, there are a lot of versions of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's also a lot of extended characters, and I don't know how much we're just going to do is a million Spider-Mans. Already it looks like it's a million Spider-Mans. But
okay,
if it's just 3 or 4 versions of the Turtles and different things, like a Commander deck version, another special deck version of, and then maybe 2 in the normal set, I might not be bad, but 15 Spider-Man.
I mean, okay, Spider-Man, I agree because they really kind of went into the multiverse thing that Spider-Man's been going to lately.
Mm-hmm.
But Spider-Man just doesn't have as great of a cast of iconic villains. I feel like there are, I don't know about, because I haven't watched any of them, but I know of like a few without having seen anything, you know?
Yeah, like I feel
And
like
that's a good sign.
again, I feel like there are a lot of characters they can work with for Ninja Turtles, but like is it enough to feel like a regular set people would recognize and not go too much into those weeds? Is where I'm kind of also questioning it too. You know, that's the kind of thing is.
I mean, we already know the land tokens are pizza, so we got more pizza.
Yeah, we got more pizza. Yeah. And again, we already know they at least have 3 versions of every turtle they're going to have. And again, as I said, if it looks like one of them's from like the turtle team up pack, and there's also a pizza bundle. I don't know how that's going to be. Those look like to each have one of those. I don't know what form those things are, and then of course the play booster version of them. So I mean, that's at least 3 versions. That's not necessarily bad, but there's a lot of questions I have that, again, for me, worried about another Spider-Man.
I mean,
Also,
I don't think it's gonna do super well. I'm gonna be honest, unless they got some like broken combo that everyone tries to go for, which I hope they don't try and do just to try and get people to go for it.
I don't know. Like,
Because I feel like that's kind of what they did in a weird way with like the One Ring. It was really good, so everyone bought the Lord of the Rings set because of it.
yeah. And again, the things they've shown, I can't say for sure. There are some like funny things like the Turtles Forever, which is basically a wish effect, which is you can get cards from outside the game. In tournament sense, that would be technically sideboard, but in casual play, you really could just grab something from your collection, and then like it's like you grab 4 cards either from your deck or your collection. You reveal them. Your opponent chooses 2 to put in your hand, and the other go and shuffle the rest in your library, so you can put cards into your library that way too. So that actually has some effect too. Give some other searching. That could be not terrible. I mean, it's a pretty powerful wish effect, but it's not the craziest I've heard about. There's a lot of those kind of things, like searching from outside. And again, in more tournament sense, that's sideboard. You specifically build your sideboard for that. But anyway, I think it's...
Yeah, so you can
it's
pull...
there.
Yeah, so if you wanted to, you could pull them out from outside and put them in.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point of that would be.
Usually, the reason that you have an effect like this is to answer for something your opponent has.
Got it. I realized that actually shortly after I asked.
Yeah.
I meant that.
Yeah.
I said that. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, it's if you're battling someone, they have something, and you realize you have a counter for it, and you want to
usually
have that counter.
Yeah, usually if you already have something in your deck, it's usually cheaper to search your deck for stuff, you know? So fishing your wish from outside the game is usually like well, I don't have anything to answer that. Let me go grab something. And again, that would be in that case.
It does let you pull from your deck as well. So.
Yeah. And it does say that it has to be 4 different legends, which I think is a major thing about it.
Legendary creatures, so they have to be creatures as well.
So, there's some specifics there. But I think like stuff like that, I'm like, that's fine. I think like again, it's that weird point in time where there's like most of it I've looked over that they've showed now, and it's fine. So I don't know, but I think it's a wait and see on that one too. Like, I really am curious as to the effects of Spider-Man, because again, I'm going to say I don't think it was as successful as Final Fantasy. But that doesn't mean it wasn't successful enough. Because
I think it was successful. I wouldn't say it wasn't successful. I just say it probably was. Well, I say it wasn't successful. I've said that a few times, but yeah, no, I think it was successful. I just don't think it was as well received.
Well, yeah, it's apparently very poorly received for player bases, and like its value has gone down to at least MSRP in a lot of places, which Final Fantasy never did for its products. Which says something, you know. Let's move on. We can talk briefly D&D, because guess what? We're getting a interesting thing that I guess it's more to celebrate, I guess, the end of Stranger Things. So it's effectively supposed to be, I guess, the adventure That was one of the campaigns that was being run in. I don't know Stranger Things. So when they say it's Eddie's unfinished campaign that they have like a box up for, I'm like, neat. Why didn't he finish it? I don't know what happened. I never really watched it. Sorry.
I mean, I know Vecna is like an actual like main villain of the game, so I think it might have something to do with that bleeding into reality or something. That's my guess.
I know. Like each season had a different thing, and I think Vecna became like the major villain because I think it started with like Demogorgon or something in like the first season. And then, like, it was probably just a minion of Vecna or something. So, they do seem to have 4 adventures and a small quick start guide in there, the Dungeon Master's screen, character sheets that they have in retro scoring, a bunch of cards. Maps, punch tokens, dice. It's a box set. I don't mind box sets. They're fine. They're a classic thing for a lot of RPGs, and I'm going to assume if you're a big fan of Stranger Things, you might really like this one. So,
yeah, honestly, I think it's neat. I mean, Stranger Things has had a big connection with D&D. I mean, that's kind of almost the whole point of it. I eventually found out.
Again, it's one of those things. It's like, it's not really in my wheelhouse, but like if someone went to me, I'm going to run this. Do you want to play it? And I'll be like, sure. I'm not going to say no. It's.
What's the funny thing is, if they're doing his campaign, then it probably doesn't have actually that much to do with the show.
Yes, I think it's the whatever campaign they were playing in the game or in the show. So you get to enjoy it that way. It's neat, but again, like, it's up to you if it's something for you to check out. And it's technically live now because it went live on the 7th. So, yeah. Cool. Shall we talk a little Star Trek? Apparently they're releasing a bunch of books. And this is interesting because it is something that, like, feels appropriate, but is also different than they've done before. Because normally they were doing, like, they weren't really doing time periods in a lot of books in first edition. They did like areas and like certain things that like, would go across multiple time periods. This I don't think is necessarily bad to be like, if you want to play original series or the new Paramount series thing, like kind of time period shows, here's the guide for that time period. I don't think I'm not against it. It's a different way of taking stuff, and I guess it's because maybe they don't necessarily have to rehash a lot of information they provided in the first edition, other than like updating stats of like the alien races you could play and stuff like that, or providing things like that.
And even then, they're technically, if I recall, compatible. It's just
might have to adapt.
It's more just there might be some additions. It's kind of like Pathfinder 2e, where it's all like you can technically play with the stuff we printed beforehand. It's just
there are slight differences when you get to the remaster, yeah. And I do think Star Trek 2nd Edition is more than the Pathfinder to Pathfinder 2e, for changes. But again, a lot of those things for the species you're playing don't really change.
I don't remember the character creation being all that different.
Yeah, the character, it's in the mechanics rather than a lot of the character. It's kind of where they change a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even though it's still 2d20 systems. So again, here's the thing I'm going to say. I don't think I'm a super fan of any of this entire time period. I wasn't a big Discovery person. Again, I've heard good things when it moved its different time period, when they time traveled and switched the entire setting. I haven't checked that out. I never got to that. I wasn't a fan of the original time period. Original series, it's fine. I don't mind it, but it has aged a lot, and it just feels like it ages more. When you go back in comparison to we rewatching Next Gen and stuff like that, you're like, well, ooh. And then I haven't watched the I think Brave New Worlds at all. I guess that seems fine. As an old Star Trek fan, I could say this isn't necessarily my time period that I would want to play in, but I don't think it's terrible. Definitely, it's an interesting one. A lot of stuff happens there. This would be kind of more the Wild West version of Star Trek. because this is supposed to be the time period where the exploration of the universe really starts picking up by humanity and stuff like that. So I think that's the kind of time period we're talking about. This is like the golden age of the
23rd is
Federation.
next generation to like Discovery, right?
No, because next it's Discovery is the earliest, followed by Brave New Worlds, followed by original series, and then it's like 24th century's next gen, and next gen, DS9 and Voyager all technically roll into each other. And the Enterprise is technically a sequel that doesn't star the Federation, but stars like early humanity going to the stars. Enterprise.
23rd century.
I think next gen I think is 24th century.
Oh, sorry. When I said Discovery, I meant Deep Space Nine. Okay.
Yeah.
I just said the wrong one.
This is technically the stuff that's been coming out.
Voyager.
Yeah, this is the stuff that's been coming out plus original series time period.
Yeah, Strange New World also counts.
I'm going to assume they'll probably do a 24th century one at least. I don't know if they'll go beyond that because there's really only like 2 other time periods and those are each one show. It would be interesting. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if they'll do them. But I do see them in the future doing a 24th century campaign for all the 90s era Star Trek. But let me just see if there's what else they've got. I think they don't have any. They do have like options for play, but I don't think they have any like things like life path and stuff like that. But they don't have species because I guess they've really reprinted all those, or just saying like, hey, here's the way to adapt the old ones because we've already provided those at this point in time. And I think they're probably not doing a lot of like one-offs. The species you only meet when you visit this planet kind of thing. Not that you couldn't probably do that for your Star Trek Adventures game, but like, yeah, they're trying to keep to the ones that are like the major, Federation and like
the ones who are part of the Federation, basically,
and some of the
and rival. It basically the spacefaring ones.
Yeah, the major spacefaring ones that were encountered in multiple episodes, more often. I like the direction though. I think this combined with the quadrant guides from first edition, I think are a good kind of supplement to each other. And I think that's an interesting direction to take it in second. So, thumbs up. Modiphius. I was wondering if they were going to do at least some kind of reprint of stuff from the quadrant guides and stuff like that.
Okay, that's why DS9 is listed in this. I forgot that there's like one back in time thing they did, I think.
Yes. Nice setup.
Like 23rd century, it says DS9, and I just realized, I'm like, why is it there? And I realized, it's because it lists an episode.
Yes, it's the episode, which, just like the other week, like I'd seen someone reference it, so I remembered this one as soon as you say it. It's the one where went back to the the original series episode with Tribbles.
Yep. Yeah, it's trials and triple actions. Tribulation.
Yeah. So,
Okay, 24th is next gen. Okay, sorry. I completely forgot how all this line 9 together. It's been a while.
It's the thing about Star Trek, I feel like it's in a way more complex when trying to figure out how everything fits together than Star Wars, which is the unfortunate thing. But Star Wars is also it's a different type of thing because it's basically fantasy.
Star Wars
cowboys.
has had Yes, funny enough, Star Wars is actually space fantasy. People seem to forget that.
Yeah.
Like the Force is literally magic. It's just very low fantasy, space fantasy.
Yeah. Yep. And it's a lot more Western than even original series Star Trek was. Original series Star Trek was like sci-fi Western. I would kind of describe it as, for original series at least.
I think
where like very pure Westerny feeling was basically Star Wars always,
The little bit I've seen of Star Trek, I wouldn't necessarily call it Western. I would just say every planet they looks like the Midwest. And that's why it feels Western.
I mean, I think in original series there are some like actual like Western type episodes, like very.
There are a number of them too. I've seen like a few, but like I said, I've seen like probably about a dozen original series episodes.
I've seen most of them. basically there was a time when they were on BBC America when I was still watching TV, and because they were showing like all the Star Treks, so I went through them at that point in time. You know,
Yeah,
most of them.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest, and this is gonna sound bad, but I still think. Well, no. My favorite's probably Next Generation, but it's followed closely by Enterprise. I like Enterprise a lot.
I like where Enterprise was going. I would have liked Enterprise to keep going, basically. I think
Agreed.
Enterprise.
I actually think it was hampered by kind of the ending.
Yeah,
The
ending hampered it the most, and I think the thing about Enterprise is I wasn't as big a fan on the early season, but as they went, I think they developed their storylines very well, and barring for some weird stuff they did, like the first season was a lot of time travel shenanigans, which was a little much for a back in the past series. There was an entire timeline with like a person from the future or something, and then there was.
I thought that was the like. I thought that was.
Because then there was the.
I know there was some.
I think
I thought that was like the beginning of the second season was constant time travel stuff.
That could have been. I thought the second season was the Zindi. Was it? Was it Zindi?
They were like a race who knew about time travel or something.
No, the time traveler was manipulating them to attack Earth and mess with things. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, like, I do think there was just a little too much time traveling. I think there was some time travel stuff in the first season, but it wasn't the major plot point. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I'm
personally,
like, shouldn't have had that.
I think what probably hampered Enterprise the most is that it was on before web streaming. Because if you actually sit down and watch them all together, it's really interesting. The problem is because it's more about the overarching plot. I think that's the problem with it, is that it's so much about the overarching plot that back in the day when you'd watch, an hour episode once a week,
or maybe in syndication,
I don't think it
doesn't do as well. I think that's the thing. That's why DS9 worked better, because DS9, though there were overarching plots, they had a lot of like, this is the thing of the week. We're advancing the plot a little bit, but you could still watch them stand alone a little bit better.
Yeah, and that's actually how most of Star Trek was up until that point.
Yeah,
and
I think,
and that's I think why Enterprise was kind of, if in a weird way, before its time. Like I still wouldn't say it was amazing.
No,
but it's still like really good in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's sort of like, I understand while people that go back really like DS9 now, because it did ongoing plot using some of the formula that was early Star Trek well, and it managed to mix those so much better than either of the two series around it, aka Next Gen or Voyager. And again, when we got to Enterprise, they're like, we're gonna try to repeat that, but they maybe went a little too serialized.
Next Gen was more like, we have a bunch of different plot lines that we pick up at random times. It wasn't like a big overarching plot as much as it was, yes, these things in the past affected it, but we're not going to, and in some cases, yes, you would have had to watch the previous episode to know what's going on now. But it was usually still only like a few episodes that were like that.
Next Gen, not as much important. Like in Voyager, it was very of the week, basically. There wasn't a lot of it, but there was ongoing stuff that you could pick up on that was going on in the background and plot lines that were going. It's just like they weren't really there a lot. Like, again, it's that balance between the two that is more in our modern sensibilities for shows. And I can see where Enterprise...
And I also will admit that probably part of the thing about Enterprise is that it was the first Star Trek I'd ever seen, so it did kind of,
I highly understand that.
Hit me a little bit there too.
Hey, it's sort of like having a couple of times rewatched Next Gen, and then like I have been, basically like on one of the podcasts I listen to is one that they talk about like, Star Trek. And it's an interesting one to have people go back who are, less familiar with the material overall. And when they analyze a lot of these older episodes, the nostalgia glasses come off, and there's a lot of like interesting things that you think about for these older episodes and stuff too, and it's fascinating, just the issues with it. But you know, I love the franchise, and I'm glad that Modifius is still doing very well with it. Hey,
Star Trek is one of those things I would love to go, and Star Trek as a series is one of those things I would love to go through and like just watch everything at some point. But I don't know.
yeah,
The way current streaming platforms are, I'm just I'm not paying for anything right now. So.
yeah, and there's a lot. Not that you couldn't like have some of these things on in the background while you're working on something. Honestly.
I'm gonna be honest. As far as it goes, like I mean, I've already seen all of Next Gen, and I've seen I want to say 2 seasons of DS9. I didn't finish it because at that point I watched all of Next Gen and then the first 2 seasons of DS9, and I got kind of Star Trek'd out, and I had to switch to something else.
I understand this feeling. You know, it's just to sit down and try to like go through all of it. It's hard. You know, that it was like for me when I did that rewatch of most of the series on BBC America. I basically like do one a day. I basically stuck with one series, finished it, and then moved on to the next one instead of doing them all at once because I would have been overwhelmed, and I realized this. You know,
I've always been weird in that I basically stick with one thing for an extra long period of time, and then I just can't stand it anymore and then move to a new thing. That's how I work. In fact, I really dislike when things don't have something to binge because it really annoys me.
So, I guess we'll, if you want to check out the 23rd century campaign guide, it's going to be out soon. It's on pre-order. It looks like they are planning to start shipping in January. But I assume you can get the PDF early, as you usually do if you just want to do that. But usually also, Modifius does usually give you like the PDF with it too. So, check it out if you're interested. Let's continue onward. Let's talk about switch over, please. Thank you. There we go. Vassen. We're revisiting Vassen, the Nordic horror role-playing game by Free League. Took me a minute to remember their name. Of course it did. Because they're coming out with 2 products. Monsters and a starter. Did we talk about they're planning on doing that? I don't know if we did or not. Like, part of me is like, when I saw it, I'm like,
I vaguely remember. Okay, so first off, I know I've seen this picture, but I don't know if that is.
It was one of those things. Is like when I was looking at this, I'm like, I don't remember. We might have talked about one or the other of them, but it's kind of
I think we talked about the monster. I don't remember the starter.
Okay,
I'm gonna be honest.
But they're both coming out a little later this month, so we have an actual date for both of them. You know, that's sort of like one of them. I think we talked about the mythic Carpathia as they kind of announced it. That does sound about right, but again, it's like one of those things. It's like not 100% sure because again, it was
about mythic. Yeah, mythic Carpathia. Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, that's the one I remember. I remember the weird vampire creature as a picture. So I know we've talked about it before.
Okay.
But the other 2 I don't recall.
Yeah. So we're getting on top of that with the starter set, which is also going to be out there too. So I mean, again, a monster manual and a starter set. These are a monster manual and a starter set. These are big things that are very helpful for RPG, and it's Nordic horror.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about Nordic horror, so okay.
Unless you have a really simple monster creation system, and I mean really simple, please release monster manuals for your game.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, it looks like the Mythic Carpathia is okay. That's not necessarily a monster manual. It looks like that's more a mythical horror that you're going to be going against. So I guess in this one, because it's more of a horror thing, there's usually it's probably more centralized enemy you're going against for the adventure rather than like a number of monsters. So, you know, I think that's where it focuses on it like a little bit more. So it's sort of like rather than I fight a bunch of creatures and then fight the vampire, the entire adventure is about defeating the vampire kind of thing.
It seems more like a setting guide because it's like includes information about the Capithria branch of the society gazetteer of the city of Prague, a chapter within the local Vassen, and 3 complete mysteries to play.
Yeah.
Prague, Ukraine, and Transylvania. So it seems more like regions or a setting kind of guide.
Yeah.
Yeah, 16 local mythical beings. Yeah, so they're more like big things that you do stuff for.
Yeah.
With.
I just think, I feel like from looking into Vassen, that is more the style of it is what I mean, kind of, too. Is that, you know, you're not going to need a massive manual of monsters. You're going to be facing against, like, maybe 1 or 2 things kind of thing. So that's why, you know, you don't worry about it. You know, your adventure is defeating the vampire, you know, or whatever it is, or encountering Baba Yaga. Good old Baba Yaga. She shows up in a lot of things.
I mean, there is kind of a whole thing where the whole point of Baba Yaga is that she can kind of traverse worlds.
Shows up in Pathfinder. She's what connects us to Earth. To our world in Pathfinder.
No, like that's actually like a whole thing. Also, Baba Yaga, fun fact, is 3 people with the same name.
That's interesting.
So there's 3 Baba Yagas all with the same name. I'll name Baba Yaga.
So, I mean, again, very cool. Still provides, like, you know, some setting stuff, some like more.
Which I actually want to say, if you're a GM, throwing that at your players would be super interesting. Feeling like. Because most people don't know that about Baba Yaga.
Mysteries. Catch them off guard.
And it's like they run into one super hostile, they run into one who's like super nice, and it's just like, what's going on here? Are they bipolar?
Yeah. But it looks like the society is what it's all about. Probably. I again, just from like looking into the game, it is more about, you know, like investigating the strange creatures that lurk in the dark of like our realm or something like that. So you're part of a society that investigates these things. So it explains why you have the big, you know, mythical things that you have to deal with in your adventures. I like this style, but it is a very different style than a lot of your traditional like RPGs, I guess. I guess you could still encounter other things to fight with, if that would be part of the entire thing, since I guess it's more of a investigation, you know, banish great evil kind of thing, adventure, or like discover what's going on about the horrors in the dark. I guess that combines with it that it being a horror-based game, but I was gonna say something for a second, but I'm like, I guess they kind of does that in Call of Cthulhu though too, because aren't you the investigators in Call of Cthulhu? But I guess that's Lovecraftian horror versus Nordic horror.
Yeah, they are different types of horror. Like, honestly, the big thing with that is your investigator, in theory, you don't have to necessarily play investigators, but your people who have stumbled into this. And yes, but investigators are like, there's almost always at least like 2, because why else would you be looking into stuff? Usually it's a private investigator who goes for a missing person or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, I listened to a campaign podcast that was like, oh yeah, no, you're literally like just hired by people who actually kind of know about this stuff and are trying to like get people to look into it. But at the same time, they don't clue in their people because they don't want them going insane, so they have to figure it out themselves. I'm like, that's an interesting concept.
The horrific twists of the madness of anything Cthulhian. I guess this one's also like, again, there is that similarity, but I think that's not a very big similarity. It's, again, I just feel like it's different style entirely, because like it's the unknowable evil verse ancient strange horrors from lurking beneath the surface that you might have to deal with. Those are different things entirely.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be more that, it's more like gothic horror than Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah. But the basically starter set, and of course the mythic Carpathia are going to be, are they available now, or is it soon? Oh, that's soon. I did say that. The 28th.
Yeah, soon.
There'll be a general release.
There is...
You can get the PDF now if you pre-order, apparently. So...
Yeah, you can get, So they're not available.
like, if you wanted the PDF of both of these, you could just pre-order the physical versions, which will be released on the 28th, and you could get the PDFs if you want.
I think the starter set is available now in French.
Neat.
Anyway,
I'm pretty sure this was originally in European languages, so it could have been out there first anyway.
Yep.
Makes sense. That had
but the other one is not there.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just because I looked it up on Drive-Thru RPG, so I can at least favorite it
Gotcha.
for potential future running. And I saw that the starter set was there in French.
The more I've looked into the Vassen game, the more I'm like, it seems to be fun to play, you know, or maybe even run too, because it's definitely a unique style of game that I don't think many of the other systems I know about would pertain to.
Got a list. I'll start a podcast eventually. I'm currently focusing on life things.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's fine.
I know.
Anyway. So, we can move on to good old Ghost in the Shell. So there's an article, and I'll link both the article and the two links from the article, just so you can find it very easily. Basically, they're doing a Ghost in the Shell RPG. It seems like the people that worked on the Cowboy Bebop RPG, which we talked about that a number of years ago, didn't we? I remember we did talk about it, but I don't remember how long ago that was.
Honestly, I feel like it wasn't that long ago.
That's on me for not remembering how long ago.
What's spelled Bebop?
B-E-B-O-P.
Let's see. We talked about Cowboy Bebop, the RPG. That was actually, so it was 2024, but I think it was actually a Cowboy Bebop RPG.
Maybe
look up Ghost.
Maybe I didn't talk about it at all. Because this is going to be launching soon. They've got the launch page up for it. I'm interested as to...
Yeah, no. Just the one...
Again, they've got a quick start. I haven't looked at the quick start, so I can't say if it's good or bad. Hey, you know, we've had our opinions on quick starts. It's 49 pages.
Yeah, the few quick starts I've seen, I hate, but that's me.
Honestly speaking, I've seen a mixed bag on them. I'll say kind of like that. I've definitely seen some that are fine and others that are not nice. This one's 49 pages. It's free on Drive-Thru RPG, etc., etc., etc. You know. I'm seeing which one of these is my correct login. Nope. That one? Yes. I might take a look at it at some point in time here, just to see what it is, and how playstyle is. This is interesting because it's another cyberpunk type game. Ghost in the Shell is a different version of a cyberpunk type things. It is very, you know, but it deals a lot more with what it means to be a person, you know, when you are a lot more online and connected up with kind of like the I don't know what they call it in that anymore. You know, that kind of thing. What it means to be like a soul inside having more mechanical bodies too, and having a lot of cybernetics and stuff like that, and where, you know, like that. Because there's people that are basically just brains and cybernetic bodies and robotic bodies in this world. So that's a lot more of that kind of like, you know, there's that level of idea that I guess isn't really explored in a lot of other the cyberpunk things. It's certainly not. It's kind of explored in Shadowrun, but Shadowrun has too much other stuff going. And Cyberpunk, I guess in like the video game they kind of explored that with like, you know, Johnny, what's his face, Keanu Reeves' character being in your arm or something, or your head or something. But they don't do it in depth as they kind of do with Ghost in the Shells. So it's okay. So it's the Arise timeline. I was gonna check that one out. So it's basically. It's not. I don't think it's the original movie. It's the animated series. Is the series ones. Ghost in the Shell. Arise. Yeah, because there was a film based on it, and Arise is its own timeline. wasn't it? Because that was the reimagined from early 2010s. It's me trying to look into the Ghost in the Shell franchise for just a second, which was based on the original manga. And so it's like, there's a lot to explore with this. There is a lot here. So I'm not saying it's not necessarily a bad idea to kind of explore this, but it is kind of I'm curious as to what they do with it, you know. And that's another reason why maybe I'll check out the quick start.
Honestly, so I'm someone who doesn't mind getting stuff like this. I mean, the big thing for me tends to be like, I'm not sure a quick start will cover what I want, but getting the book and stuff, like, I think it's really cool to read different settings and get inspiration from like completely different, like, you know, if all you read is D&D, your games are going to feel very samey.
Yeah.
If you want real inspiration, go and check out, you know, something similar.
Yeah.
You know, a slightly different genre, and that'll give you ideas and stuff. Also read books.
Yes. Again.
Or listen to books if you have a reading disorder like me.
This is an interesting franchise to choose. I think that, again, it is a fairly popular, more classic anime series. I mean, the original Ghost in the Shell movie was one of those big movies. It's like, you had like your Akira, Vampire Hunter D, Ghost in the Shell, the original. These were the big things. And the original, I think, is more heavily based on the manga, but I don't know how well it's adapted. I know the one they're going for is kind of like extended timeline information, and I don't think it includes the actual movie, but could kind of. It's kind of one of those kind of things. Because before the original movie. Okay. And it is all about cybernetics and balancing your mind and soul with your cybernetic body. Yeah, that's why it's the Ghost in the Shell. Yeah, your mind / soul inside your cybernetic body. And also it does look like you're taking on like the a good comparative. You're Stars from Resident Evil. You're like the special tactical division of like the government. That's what you're going to be part of. You're going to be cyborgs and the part of that, and and dealing with, you know, terrorism, espionage, and a kind of like dystopian future. So it's an interesting setting. I think it's fine. I don't know what else I can say about it other than you could check out the quick start and you can watch the thing, and I think it's an interesting one. I would definitely recommend, if you were very interested in it, you could check out at very least the original movie. Again, this is based on stuff that came out after that, but the original movie is still a classic. Definitely would help you establish what the world's like. So, and a lot of the themes that exist within it. So, all right, Ghost in the Shell coming soon. Quick start out now. All right, let's talk about Army of Darkness just a little bit, because there's apparently an Army of Darkness board game coming out soon. That's a cooperative tower defense game. That seems fun. Kind of silly. Yeah. So apparently, looking at the article here, the licensing agreement was made 7 years ago. Took a little bit to get a game out. Just a smidge. It's a tiny bit. 7 years to get your game out after announcing that we're going to be working on it. Again, a lot of things could have happened in the interim that we don't know about, so I can't like say that it was bad or good the reason that it took so long, but that's kind of neat.
I mean, it's rarely a good thing, I'm gonna be honest.
I know. Let's see if I can link to their... Look at their... They got the Board Game Geek. Dynamite Entertainment. So is this the... Okay, so it does look like you might have been able to get it before. I'm assuming there might have been a Kickstarter or something before. Because certainly Board Game Geek is listing it for last year, and it seems like the stuff for it is officially out now. So I'm assuming just from the date and from like this information that I'm getting that that's kind of what it was at. So you might have been able to get it last year if there was a Kickstarter. Was there? It was a backer kit.
Oh, it's hitting. Yeah, it's hitting retail soon, so that's when it's going to be like in stores.
Yes.
Which probably would include things like Amazon.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just trying to like set up everything and like make sure I got the right information here too. So this is like the official full release. Again, it's players working together to survive the siege in the big climax of the movie of Army of Darkness. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty good. It's like the second best movie in the Evil Dead franchise. Maybe the best. It's kind of hard to tell because there's different reasons. This is a very different movie in the franchise than the first two, because the first one was the original, but the first one also was like done on a budget, and the second one was kind of a remake of the first one. That's why it's kind of hard to compare that one. And then it came out Army of Darkness, and then came versions made by people later on to Mixed Bag. It's an interesting kind of horror franchise, and this one was... This is like the Aliens to Alien kind of movie, I would say. That's a better way of saying it. If you know your Alien franchise, you know Aliens is much more action with some horror in it rather than a horror movie, you know. That's kind of what I feel like Army of Darkness was. And they were all horror comedies anyway. So it was an action horror with some comedy still. Action horror comedy. Anyway, to describe it. I like tower defense games. What is it? Oh, God, I play the game and I own it a lot, and it's got the Wizard's Tower. I can't remember the name of it now. Wow.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a board game that I've played a bunch of, where it's got like the towers you have to defend in the middle. I've played with Joe in real life and on Tabletop Sim a bunch of times. Castle Panic. Remember the name?
Oh, Castle Panic. I've heard of it. Oh, I actually have played that once. Okay.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's going to be something akin to that, but played differently. But it's the idea of like protecting the center and, you know, doing stuff to keep it going. You know, tower defense game. I like those kind of games. Right, Adventure? She goes, maybe. So you're cleaning yourself up a bit. Look at her, smug. She's like, I'm not smug. I'm a jerk. So anyway, yeah, Army of Darkness. Yeah, I can link the site too. I think that's the correct site from. Yes, Dynamite. I'll link that also, so people can check it out. That's a neat one. It's a classic. I guess let's talk about some serious stuff. You want to talk about some serious stuff?
Sure.
Let's start with this is something apparently that started last week that I missed, which there's apparently a Kickstarter strike going on with the union.
Oh, like the Kickstarter company. Okay.
Yeah, the company. So yeah, again, judging it's an online company, this is the workers that work in there. You know, it's apparently the 59 support specialists that basically keep the website going have gone on strike. So theoretically, nothing major should happen to the site until a problem comes up. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't have the maintenance people there. So, yeah. The article I found here links to the original article too, the Kickstarter strike. I'll put both of the links if you just don't want it, for safety, sanity's sake.
32-hour 4-day work week. Been in place for 3 years. Minimum living wage. What? Key open issues.
Key issues, according to the union, are the extension of the company's 32-hour 4-day work. Oh, so here's what they've been doing: a 32-hour 4-week work week, and they've been trying to extend that apparently. That was what basically has been in place for the company for 3 years, and the company's trying to increase that amount. And they're like, "Hey, we are used to this type of work week." And a minimum living wage for New York, which is around $85,000 a year.
Wait, so they want to work more?
The company wants them to work more.
Oh.
and
Okay.
remove the minimum wage. So the company wants to add more hours and remove the minimum living wage, which the union wants.
Okay, the extension. Okay, key opening issues on account of according to the union, are the extension. Okay, so they extended it. I don't know. I read that as they wanted to extend it. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, the union wants to extend we'll just keep with the work schedule we've been on, and the company's like, no, more hours, more back to work.
Actually, they have done some studies, and they've actually shown people who are like 10 times more, or like not 10 times, but like significantly more productive with a 4-day work week.
I've heard that, less stress.
And someone, it's just more in exhaustion. Like I can tell you right now from working, 40 hours a week. First off, I don't even work 40 hours. Because like it, I'm at work for 40 hours, but I don't work 40 hours.
Yeah.
And if I had like one day, and like the few times I've had like, a holiday on a Monday or a Friday, it's like I feel so much better. So I totally get the idea. And I get a lot more done the weeks that those happen. So.
Wait. So apparently, just like they were in negotiations broke down. There's a strike going on. It's the usual kind of thing. So we'll see how Kickstarter's still open. It's functioning.
For them.
I gotta be honest. Yes, it's one of those things. Is if you have the union, you use it, and it does sound like there were negotiation breakdowns and stuff like that. And
I'm probably going to talk about this more on my stream tomorrow, but yeah, I talked to my coworker, and apparently she's a lot more underpaid than I thought too. And I mentioned potentially talking to one of our bosses, and she was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." I'm like, "Cool, I'll probably end up doing that." Not like obviously like strike or union, but it's just like we are literally the only two people who do anything in this company.
It's one of those things that's also very not surprising, but like. The stigma of not discussing like what everybody gets is also one of those things that leads to less trying to figure out and negotiate a reasonable thing for everybody.
Well, again, it's a small company with like 7 people. She knows what I make. I just didn't know, like, what I asked her more was not how much she make. I already knew that she didn't make a ton. I just asked her like what her living conditions were, or what her like and stuff. She's like, yeah, no, actually it's very hard to make ends meet with what we're on. And I'm like, okay, good to know. I didn't realize I was
a little bit more might be helpful for a
boat.
living wage for her, basically. A little bit more of a living wage.
Yeah, like I like she wasn't making that much more than me, but I was kind of just like, I figured she had like other income sources and stuff, and she does actually have other income sources, but she also has a lot more expensive because she has 2 children, and no husband.
And again, like, I think the thing is, the workers aren't saying they're not going to put the work in and not work those weeks, but like, I'm gonna do some quick math. Let's say traditionally 50 work weeks in a year, so 50 times 32, because 32 hours a week, so 1600, so 8500.
It's 56.
But it sounds like it's a salary, so it's like still 53 a year. Like it's not bad for tech company though. Tech companies tend to pay a little more though. Anyway, and it does seem like, I'm not going to lie. Here's the other thing I'm going to say. It's a massive, very profitable company running on the backs of 59 people. They're probably earning their pay.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, 85,000 a year in the heart of New York City, probably that is paycheck to paycheck. Maybe the bottom end of a living wage.
And here's the thing, they say the minimum living wage for it they want to be kind of in place, so I guess it's like, there might be people already earning that in the company. They want to say it for everybody, that's the minimum for everybody.
Yeah.
And again,
oh yeah, they're saying the minimum living is, that's totally where I was on the right page. Yeah. So, like that would probably be like the bare minimum living condition. I would be like, that's definitely closer to paycheck, but it's still like, you're actually going to be able to start saving money.
Yeah. Again,
You know?
like 85,000, not unreasonable. Again, this is all not unreasonable stuff. In like just looking at it in a it's set in what's going on in this entire setting, and we'll see how the negotiations go. But there's a strike right now. It's not affecting Kickstarter yet, but the longer it goes on, it might. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I will say, from an hourly wage perspective, that is actually extremely well paid. But they're obviously working less hours. And so that's kind of the thing where it's all like the whole point of a 32-hour work week is so that way you get paid a living wage while working 32 hours. So you're going to have to deal with that. Yeah, but...
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if they wanted to keep pay the same and increase the work, they're literally like halving costs, which is not quite, but still pretty big cost difference. Yeah, I get why they would get mad about that.
So,
and I guarantee you, if they increase the work week, it would not help productivity.
No, again, it's one of those things. Is like I think about it too. I've worked low wage jobs, and the unfortunate thing is like there's a lot of downtime in those. Like being a cashier, you stand around a lot. I mean, now you have to be there.
Yeah,
but
here's the thing about that. It's like you are literally paid to be there for if someone comes in.
Yeah,
that's actually the point. The issue, in my opinion, tends to be like my job where I can get all my work done in 2 hours and have nothing left to do. But that's only sometimes. Like again, it depends on the day, depends on the week.
Yeah, depends on what's kind of the what's available.
Where's it going with this? Oh yeah, yeah. But like for me, it's more about the amount of work I get done. And for that, especially for something like Kickstarter, like nothing's gonna catch on fire overnight. You also have a rotation of crew. It's fine. So like, yeah, you don't necessarily need to have people there 24/7. Actually letting them have time to rest as long as they get their work done is fine. Like we really need to pay people more based on the duties there to perform than like the amount they sit in a chair and stare at a screen.
Yes, I agree. I do agree. I think there's like it's just a balance for things.
Literally, I have no incentive to do more work than I already do. That's the biggest problem. They're not paying me enough to live. Why should I work for them?
Yes, the amount that you are employed with is like not matching, what they expect in a lot of ways. There's not an incentive to do more in a lot of these situations, and I think that's the kind of weird issue about it. Anyway,
they don't incentivize good work; they incentivize presence, and that's why it's kind of this it's not a good system for making money. Anyway,
yeah,
a little diatribe aside, what's next?
It's an acceptable diatribe. Well, we have one more main topic, and of course, there's also we're revisiting Diamond. Hi, Diamond. It's been a few weeks, so there's been a big update, kind of. So there's a filing.
Don't make me think you're talking about me every time we come up.
I know. So apparently, the people that have been fighting with Diamond, basically, the consigners are basically filing something that is, in case things go bad, and the insolvency of Diamond occurs. The idea is for them, they're basically suggesting not that the legal fees aren't paid, but they're held off on. Because apparently, the legal fees were going to be paid right away. Which I guess is a normal thing? I don't know enough about these courts for, like, your legal fees to be the first thing that's paid.
That sounds right, honestly.
But they're basically like,
It's because normally, it's like, yeah, okay, the lawyers did their job, we'll pay them, but then as part of what the lawyers decided, so basically the lawyers and, like, people and, the lawyers, people basically decide on like, okay, here's how you're going to pay off your debt.
Mhm.
You know, but then you have to pay the lawyers. And so I think because they're that much in the hole, they're also gonna hold off on that too. It sounds like.
So apparently,
So they
they're,
don't want it to be insolvent.
they're worried about administrative insolvency, which is if Diamond is unable to pay its post-petition debts, costs, fees, despite the presence of debtor in possession financing and money collected from the sale of assets. Okay, so they're saying they're worried, even after they sell off everything, that they're going to be unable to pay with all the fees that Diamond's been incurring for this part of this entire thing. Because bankruptcy is expensive. Or maybe Diamond's making it expensive. I don't know.
Well, the whole thing with them is what's making it expensive. I mean, the fact that they wanted to sell off the stuff that wasn't theirs is what made this whole thing kick off.
Yeah.
But also, here's the thing, like, Dark Horse wants their products and money, you know, and stuff. Like, that's the thing. Like, they were basically saying, oh, we're going to take your stuff without paying you. They want one or the other, and they'd actually prefer the money than the products, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like, so, they don't want them, because that's the thing, if they go completely insolvent and can't pay anything, then they basically just disappear and you're out of luck with the money, so.
I guess that's the thing that they're, like, worried about as the, people that have the product. They're like, hey, this could happen.
Yeah, and it apparently continued to function in between those two times. That's the thing. So they were probably still getting products from people. It's just some people like Paizo pulled out.
Yeah. Well, I assume, like, when they weren't going completely, like, they were doing the bankruptcy that the company would have stuck around. When they were doing that, I assume there was much more of a push to, like, keep things going, so to say. In a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, it's an interesting spot to be in with the entire thing. It's a mess, as it continues to be. As you said, someday down the line, maybe there'll be like a big old special describing the insanity that's happened when it comes to this, and it'll be a story to be told in the annals of tabletop and other similar products.
Yep.
The Diamond experience. So that's kind of where things are with Diamond. Well then, shall we get to our deeper discussion topic, which I am going to be turning things over to you, Worm. Yes, you. I am forcing a thing because you brought this topic up earlier and we kind of hit on it previously. But because it's one of the very few things I could remember from the old list that got half disappeared from topics like we're kind of coming up with the last year, I'm bringing it back. Our good friend, the Hex Crawl.
Ah, Hex Crawls. I do like
Yes.
Hex. I like the concept.
You kind of had been talking about it. We kind of talked about it with everything else. But I felt like, I think I said at the time, we should have a episode where we revisit it on its own and kind of discuss and dive into that.
Because I think it was in the discussion of different types of dungeon crawls.
Yeah.
I talked about, because we talked about Hex Crawls and then there was Point Crawls, Crawls, Hex Crawls, Dungeon Crawls. I think there was like kind of more of like more open world stuff that kind of was, but
and we
anyway.
kind of hit on a lot of these things before, but I think like this is one of those ones that like I think you talked about a lot, and I'm like, I've done some stuff similar to it, unlike the Point Crawl, which I think we'll have to visit on its own at some point in time. But that one I might have to actually do a little bit more research on before we visit that one. But
Point Crawls are fun. They're a fun concept. They're anyway, but and honestly, they're probably kind of what you want to do if you don't have money for or don't have assets to make big dungeons or time. A little bit. They're kind of halfway between like a dungeon crawl and anyway. But
anyway, I turn things over to you to introduce us to the.
I mean, so Hex Crawls 90% of the time are over land or over larger areas. I feel like you could do a sort of Hex Crawl inside a dungeon. it would behave probably a little differently. I'm sure how you'd accomplish that off the top of my head. Wouldn't be too hard though. I could kind of already tell. But yeah, they have a lot of different variations. West Marches is one that I kind of have wanted to try at some point.
Mhm.
But yeah, in general, it's just you have a map, you have stuff, and you let the players go wild, and it's something I really like the idea of.
I think it's the idea of this is the kind of thing that you're doing a much more open-ended exploration, I think, with kind of things like hex crawls and points crawls and stuff like that.
Usually, yes.
You know, you're focusing more on that rather than just I am going from it's less A to B and A to maybe B, maybe C, maybe D, maybe E, you know, or it's sort of like
it's not that you don't have destinations. It's just the in hex crawls, the journey tends to be as important as the destination.
Yes, and it might be that you don't know exactly where your destination is too. You might have to go, you know, to various places and explore them and discover things there and kind of find out stuff that you're learning the secrets of that spot on the map, kind of thing.
Or you know something's at a spot and you have to go to that spot and search around for it. And you know there is stuff you can do. And I honestly, as someone who I've always wanted to do like open world exploration game at some point. The problem is they tend to be very long, like multiple years. Because you tend to have a plot hidden between a bunch of stuff that players actually have to go to. And I mean, if you know players, it's like it's, have fun getting them to focus on one thing. But
yeah, focus. It
really depends on the players though. Like it was really funny because in Bastion Frontier, I had so many side things like half planned for if you guys just wanted to go like that thing on the, because I put a lot of stuff on the map, and if you're like that thing on the map looks interesting, what's there? I would have been like, yeah, there's actually something there. You guys never went for it. You guys just followed the plot. So there are players who will do that as well.
Yeah, it definitely comes down to, you know, what makes sense for the game in a lot of ways too. I think for Bastion, it wasn't necessarily bad or anything terrible that we had that. It's just
it was more just as a GM, I like to leave the and that's the thing. I just like to leave the option open. Because I would like that privilege, but I also know I often don't have that privilege in other people's games. I'm sorry, but I don't think you'll let me just wander off, you know, or in, not Madness, Fall of Avonswell. It's just like, oh yes, let's go and do this other thing. Now that won't end well. We'll probably just all die.
Here's the thing. It's that weird thing of I kind of both half would and would not. You know.
Yeah. Well, I think you would. I think you would, as a GM, let us, but then you would just make everyone die and us fail.
Look, I'm not going to say it would result in a horrible, horrible death for all of you. It probably would result in a horrible, horrible death for all of you.
I'm not saying it wouldn't, but you're saying it most likely would.
It would be interesting. I think that's the best way to say it. A result of like randomly exploring. I probably could figure out some things to do with it though. I think that's the other thing. I probably could figure out some ways to like play around with that if you really wanted to, like because I think there were options for kind of stuff to do. But like, here's the thing also about it. Like you've kind of changed directions a couple of times on how things have been done in the game, which I've been fine with.
By the way, I have no idea how. Like that's the thing. Usually in games I can usually figure out like where the important things are. In your game, I actually have no clue. I feel like most of the most important pieces that we changed were when we just waited.
It just so happens because I have things written in a certain way, and that the stuff I've been using is like world plot, okay? You've encountered world plot things differently or in places that I wasn't expecting you to encounter them. And that's kind of shifted things. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't necessarily plan when you were confronted in the village, you'd run underground. into a direction you didn't know where it would go into.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
So I knew that that area kind of connected up with stuff. So then, like, that's when you got into enemy base. I'm honest, I didn't expect you to return to enemy base.
That was the other thing, which I would argue that I would understand that being a point you weren't expecting.
Yes, I'd established the portal. I was expecting to go back to it, and I'm like, well, I knew what they did to that place. And so you went through the portal. See, like, this is things that, because you did stuff, I adapted into you going through the portal and going to the Swamp Lawrence. I wasn't really originally planning on that at all, you know. And then
I thought it was a very cool touch, though.
Oh yeah, no,
honestly,
it's like, and then like Joe tapping into the gate power and the way he did it, I'm like, okay, man. He's just like, you're making choices. I guess you're connecting up with certain people. Congratulations, you know.
Yeah, but anyway, the point I'm kind of just to get back a little bit more on track. Your game a hex crawl wouldn't work because it's a timed plot.
Yeah,
the plot actually has a time frame.
Yeah, I can see that.
Played in a game like that before, although that game also was Majora's Mask style, where time reset. My friend did a good job with the game. Amber City. She did stream it. I should have most of the recordings. Anyway, but yeah, Hex Crawls, it's so...
It requires a
Hex
certain
Crawls are
type of
fun.
game, for one thing.
Yeah, it requires... Okay, it actually requires a decent amount of forward prep.
Mm-hmm.
It also... Well, it either requires a lot of forward prep, or it requires you to... ask your players what they're, like, gonna be doing, and have your players actually be on track about it. Like, if your players are actually like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna go and explore this thing, this hex over here, it's like, okay, cool. Then I can plan you traveling to it, and, like, what you might find along the way, and I can maybe put some stuff in the path.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, if your players are just like, we're gonna move to this hex, nothing happens. Okay, we're gonna move to this hex now.
I think
we're gonna move to this. That's a... If your players are like that, you're gonna have to plan everything ahead of time.
Yeah, like, I think the best way, if you don't want a huge amount of work and you're not sure exactly what your players are going to do, is like, you know, yes, sure, the major plot point, put it in a hex of your choice. Give your players hints about it. But if they're going to go exploring, come up with some, like, this is what kind of things you might discover in some places, you know, like that. And then, like, rather than maybe assign it if you don't know exactly where they're going, like, roll randomly from, like, a list of stuff, you know. Put together a side thing of possible encounters and locations. And they just happen to pop into this, like, you know, oh, a small fishing village. You know, I rolled that. That's the one you're going to encounter there. You know, that's what I'm putting in that spot. It has a little bit of, like, half planning out. But, again, you still do have to kind of put things together. And I think the thing about a Hex Crawls, you do, as you said, they kind of have to feel like there's stuff there. You know, there has to kind of be encounters.
And that's kind of the big thing is, you want to have a clear idea about the environment and what's going on. That's actually probably the key as a GM, is that, like, you have to know, okay, kobolds live in this area and they're coming out of this area, so if they're in this general region, that's the kind of encounters they'll run into. That overlaps here with the gnolls, and the gnolls might be fighting the kobolds over these areas. You know, like, you want to have those things so that way you know, kind of like, you want to know the environment. With that said, if it's only beasts and not creatures, then you can honestly just make it so it's like, okay, you run into this creature, you run into that creature. It could be like, if you're exploring something more like a desolate zone, it's like, it's more just ruins. It's like, okay, they could be exploring from hex to hex, searching, trying to find different ruins that might be different things. There's lots of ways to do it.
Yeah.
And that's actually, and I do want to kind of bring up, but yeah. So I honestly, I do want to bring up the West March thing at some point, but yeah, it's more just that, like, I don't know. It's something I like because I like the idea of exploration. I like as a player, something I really want to enjoy is when I see a map, when someone makes a map. Oh, right. For these, you need a map. 100%.
Yes.
No ands, if, or buts. When someone puts a map in my face and I see, what's that over there? As the GM can basically, if I can go there and find something, that makes me happy.
And that's the thing that, like, I do tend to try to have at least an idea of what in most places are on a map if I put something there. You know, like,
Yeah.
That's something I do try to think about the basics. Even if I don't have a lot of the full details, at least I'm like, well, this is kind of what's in that place. If you are planning on switching to there, I can plan on it. Because, like, again, I'm going to tell you, the current plot line you're on, I like better. It wasn't the original end of the game in Fall of Abbotsfall. Also,
Okay.
I can say. There was going to be a different end,
Interesting.
but you've kind of driven in different directions with, you know... And honestly, Joe's been a useful tool to kind of go in that direction and give you the option of it.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
Okay.
And he keeps tapping into weird primal powers. He really just doesn't know when to not, like, poke a bear.
He should stop doing it.
He does keep doing it. And I'm like,
it's not good for his health.
no, it isn't. And his mind.
Yeah, but now the West Marches actually does solve some of these issues. Because the idea is, and it doesn't have to be west, but I think the original concept was a march west. It's basically like you are on the edge of civilization, and is the core concept, and you could do this, but it's basically just sheer exploration. Like literally, no one's been out this way. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, if you wanted to set your game, like if you wanted to set a game in that world back a few years, back like before the Dark Horde or whatever, or maybe even at the beginning, and you do a West Marches game into the wilderness, the wildlands.
The land beyond into the other continent, which is like divided by.
That would be.
Yeah, it's like the sheer Himalayas and like a deadly like monsters basically separate you like out from like the other continent. So it makes the savage.
Because the idea of a West Marches is that you kind of have a base that you retreat back to that's on the edge of civilization. So you go out, explore, come back. Go out, explore, come back. And as you level, you can go farther.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, so it's kind of more like, you have to be, if you go too far, you might get in over your head. So it's like you kind of want to stay close to base where you can retreat and heal if, so it's this kind of thing. And so that's a West Marches where it's like, it's exploration, but you're literally like going out and exploring.
I mean, it does remind me of some games I've done, but I haven't done it that way, which is kind of an interesting concept, I think.
Yeah, I will say that's the original concept. In fact, the original concept also had one more twist, and that was one GM about like 50 players. And basically the players would here's the thing. The players would have to self-organize into groups, let the GM know where they're wanting to explore, and then the GM would okay, give me a week, and then they'll play next week. So it's like self-organized players is the original concept of a West March. So when you hear West Marches, they tend to refer to that concept. Like if you say, oh, I'm going to play in a West Marches game, but the idea of how it works is also part of it, because you kind of need that exploration to do a West Marches game. You can't do a plot with 5 different groups of people without major potential issues. So the idea is that like everyone goes back to base, they can switch between different groups. If they have scheduling conflicts for one week, they can go to the next week's group or something. Yeah. So that's the idea, and this is something I've always wanted to. I want to run if I ever get like an actual like fan base. I think it'd be cool.
Here's the thing about it. That's actually the form I kind of wanted to rewrite Madness into. Yeah.
Actually, Madness would make a great, just from what I know of that, it would make a great thing. It's more of a center than a complete west, but...
It is the idea that, like, you spread out and you could, like... Even and then, I thought about it more and I'm like, that way I could have an ongoing plot, but the characters being more part of a group from like a base of operations, or part of like the you guys as a group, not just your characters, but like a big group of people assigned with you are in charge of exploring this place, and like you're just one group going out, and then maybe like something happens and you have to get new players, or like your adventures end and we have to start someone else that's had their own exploration adventures, and that you're now the main group, so you can kind of switch it out too, That's why I thought that would be an easier way to explore that, and there was a lot of other rewriting I was going to do.
I actually think that's a great idea for West Marches. So the idea, And you can even do for like a West Marches game, basically be like, oh yeah, no, you can't see more than 2 hexes. If you want to see farther, you have to explore, you know? So like, you know, and so there's kind of this thing where it's like, and you have to be more leveled. Like you might even let the players know about how dangerous areas are. Like, oh no, you're seeing signs of this kind of creature, which you know is very dangerous. You know, you might want to start heading back and explore a different way. You know,
Yeah.
So like, yeah, West Marches is a cool concept. Again, I don't think for a stream you should do the like 50 players thing,
Oh,
but
God,
you should
yeah.
the idea of it, the idea of being able to switch out players is not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's interesting. But yeah, that's a hexploration that I've wanted to do because of the concept of it. Could be interesting if you have like a lot of people.
See, the thing is, every time you say West March, it does remind me. I did run a game all about exploration, but it was basically it was another 2-continent adventure, but it was basically like the only good way to get there was by boat. But there was a really dangerous land bridge between the 2 continents, and they were like, "You guys, go find an overland route."
Okay.
And that was the entire thing about the players. It's sort of like, boats take a really long time and they suck to get there. We can get there. We want to get some trade overland. Go discover an overland route. And that was the entire plot of the games. The characters were adventuring and traveling west, you know. And the
Honestly,
game went to tits, I will
West
tell
March,
you. But that's what it makes
every
me
time
think of.
every time I hear West Marches personally, I think of like a war campaign. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
that
we're
also
marching
is,
on the city to the west.
that was my second thing I thought about. It's like that's like an army game.
No, yeah. So I don't know why. I mean, yeah, this is the name it got. It's just because you're again. The idea was you're basically exploring west.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can explore in any direction. It can be a single base, like, you know, Madness. It's just generally you want somewhere to retreat to. But that doesn't generally, or I should say, that doesn't usually make sense to have it from a center point, because generally people have to come from somewhere. But for Madness, it makes sense.
Thematically, it makes sense in a lot of ways. But yes, it is. It is different type of beast.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, the whole point of Hexploration is that players can basically point at the map and say, "Hey, what's that?" And you can go and find out. And that's, I think, the big fun of Hexploration and West Marches and those kind of things. You know, and I think the important thing is to make everything relevant. In fact, the fun part about West Marches is the players can talk, you know, outside of the game. Like, effectively, they're being able to talk with each other and like discuss things. So if they find something interesting, another group can be like, "Hey, that's interesting. Does that have something to do with what we found?" And you can actually discuss stuff outside of it, you know?
It almost assumes, like, you know, oh, hey, when everybody's back at the tavern talking about something, you can kind of like go over this information and kind of figure it out. It's like, oh, hey, well, we found this when we were out that way. Like, well, that's neat.
Yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, and I think it's a very neat concept for a Hexploration game.
Yeah.
It's usually done as a Hexploration concept, again, because you need that kind of free form for that many people.
But it comes back to what a hex crawl really is. And a hex crawl is... It's going to be exploration. And again, like... It is the ultimate expression of hex-based gaming, I think. It's the top tier of it. Because, like... There are other versions of Hex. Like, there's Hex that you can do in tactical versions of Hex. I'll always remember Spelljammer, the original. When you're exploring with your ship, it's Hex-based.
Yeah, tactical movement is Hex-based. Yeah, but I'm in Spelljammer. I know how that works.
Yeah.
So there's...
there's a level of tactics and kind of exploration there too. Like if you're like zoomed into an area to explore, with your ship, you can do hex too. But that also works for ship combat.
Well, because technically you're supposed to do these like rings. Like I don't know if you've seen, maybe you didn't do this when you played Spelljammer, but there was like these big maps with like rings, and they had rules for how the planets moved around the rings.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance other than to look at to use any of the large star charts.
Yeah, so that's kind of what. Yeah. Oh, and then the actual spheres are on a hex grid. So yeah, there's 2 layers of hex grid. Yeah. So it's a little different for something like that. Also, like for something like Traveler, you could play like a star game, or yeah, actually, you could play a space game where it's like, oh, we're exploring this way, we're going, hex by hex and trying to find planets between. That one you'd probably be able to obviously see quite a bit farther, but you might have to like go and then do some surveying and then figure out from there where the best next thing, or maybe you have to like discover a wormhole and figure out where that takes you, or so like that could be a little bit blind in that sense. And so it's like, yeah, maybe, yeah. So you could do this with
you could do
Space
this
too.
You can do this with all kinds of games, like vehicle based games. You could probably do this in like a ocean exploring game, honestly. Like if you're like going into an area and you have to like find an island or something like that, but there might be other things in there. Yes, it's not going to probably be as exciting as like land based, because there's a lot more things.
Honestly, I just thought of one that could be really fun: Hexploration, exploring a ruined city in like an apocalypse game.
Ooh, that could be interesting too. I could see that, because there'd be a lot of like buildings and places that might be something there too.
Yeah.
Again, you can see how the entire idea is extending to exploration a lot of ways, and
yep,
it's the thing that I think. Here, I was just thinking about it for a second. The question that I think a lot of people probably ask, and I don't know if you have the answer for this, because I'm trying to think if I have the answer. Does hex-based maps for exploration work better than, let's say, a traditional, more square-based one? And why would that be? I don't know if there's an answer for that I can think of very quickly.
The idea is more directions. So it's the idea that you can move more. Because so you could use a square-based map. You could. It wouldn't like kill it. But the reason hexes tend to be the standard for that is because, like, in fact, if we were doing the city one, I might make those squares. I make them like blocks.
That would make sense for that one a little bit more. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But like for the reason for hexes is because it kind of creates more of a like, I can move in a lot more direction. A hex is actually like the best shape that fits together with itself and ad infinitum. I mean, you could do, or it's got, because like once you 8-sided have like you'd have to have 8-sided and then like squares between them. And then other things. So, like, it's kind of this way to, like, get the most directional travel without having to have different shapes.
Here's the thing I think it's also that's important when you think about it. If I'm looking at squares, probably 90% of the time, I'm going to think, like, if we were saying cardinal directions, north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
Like, diagonals, you can do them, but you're not thinking of that first when you're looking at that, because it's got the 4 sides.
Yeah.
Those attract your attention. That's why with Hex, it does open up those directions a little bit more. And, it makes you also probably break away from just the cardinal directions in your brain a little bit, too.
Yes. Actually, I would argue that is also helpful because it doesn't make you feel
shoehorned into one direction.
Like, it feels less restrictive in a weird way. And that's actually something I was trying to think about how to express. And, yeah, that's a lot better way of putting it. Yeah, it's like, it feels less restrictive. It really does.
Yeah.
It also doesn't feel. It also feels more natural. As weird as that sounds, even though like six directions to go, it still's not natural, but it feels more natural for whatever reason than a square.
Yeah. It's opening your mind up to exploring a little bit more, whatever direction, whatever naturally. Yes, I can definitely head to this hex, but maybe I'm just passing through that hex and going through part of it and going over to that hex, that kind of thing there. So I might not be going enough, I might not discover anything around the route I'm going in, and it's sort of like that kind of thing, Yeah. And when you're just doing those straight lines through squares, you're going to be going through the center of that square. You're going to hit most of what it is, regardless. You're not thinking about those subtle diagonals as much. It opens up that. Yeah. It's basically, it's a spatial thing in a lot of ways too that I think does help with the exploration. Another reason that you might want to do it if you're doing exploration thing. Again, as you said, there are circumstances where squares might be better when it's like a city that's probably pretty organized and in blocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That logically makes sense.
Yeah. So there's definitely ways to do it with like a square. But it's just, it's just like, I don't know, it just feels more natural, like, or nature-y, it feels less constructed.
And I think it's good to if you're getting some kind of exploration, even if it's minor, maybe to have even a small hexed area to add a little bit of that, that if there is
I've
other
actually
places to
seen.
explore.
So there's a period of time where I was thinking of maybe running a module, and I actually ran into a few that had like a. It was literally just like a 3x3 hexploration, or like it was like 3 on a side hexploration. So it was like a hex of 3, but it's I don't know how many.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, I'm not gonna count it. But yeah, it's not that big, but it's still you can explore. Right? In fact, the idea was that it's like a hunt. The one I'm thinking of right now was like a haunted castle courtyard or a haunted castle garden.
Ooh, that's neat.
So it was like you're
probably one of the crazy
like it was
gigantic
contained,
gardens.
but
So yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. It was like yeah. So,
am I going
there's
over to the
definitely, like you can.
topiary hex or the like hedge maze hex? That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, like one of the hexes with hedge maze, like.
Yeah. That's the menagerie over there, aka the zoo. But yeah, I can see that. Again, I think it's one of those things is you can use this in a lot more places than just what we're describing the big places we can use them. But it's kind of
Yes,
it's something
we're talking about a whole hex crawl game. But yes, you can do mini hex crawls, or you can even use hex crawls as kind of like a basis for a map, and just track travel in between, even though you have a plot at the different locations, and just be like, okay. Because that's the thing. Again, it's more about the journey. The journey can sometimes be as important as the travel. So if you want your journey to be important, then you can basically say to your players, okay, you have this map. Which route do you want to take to the next plot point? You know the plot point. You know where to go.
Yeah.
But how do you want to get there?
Yeah. And that's, I think, an important question. I think that's a question I was kind of asked at the end of the session for Fall of Habitsville this week. It's like, how do you want to get there?
Yeah.
You have your journey. What you're gonna do? It's a question that is very often asked, and you expressing it in a way for your players to make it like a little bit more fun or something is just something to make it more than just walk.
It makes it
there.
more interactive than you arrive at point B.
Yeah.
What happened in between? Who knows?
Yeah.
You arrive.
Yeah. It's one of those things is you want to have things happening along the way. You don't just want to run.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a lot of things, like your travel from the Birchleans to Avonswell, yes, it was with a whole crapload of people, and yes, not anything major really happened, but I had little things happen in there to make it more just like a walk over like a week of like leading a bunch of refugees,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you could have extended that section a lot if you really wanted to. You've explained that you don't want to like have a super long campaign.
I wasn't trying to, so that's what it was. It wasn't trying.
Yeah,
to. It's been a little longer than I originally planning, but I think it's fine.
Again, it's hard to gauge a campaign longer than 3 sessions.
Yes.
Accurately.
Yes. Very accurate.
And even that, you might have to add an extra one.
As soon as you get to, like, honestly speaking, if you say, I'm going to have 5 sessions, do not be ready to go both above and below that. Most likely above that. You could have 4 sessions. Mm-hmm. Your players could be super quick. But, like, honestly, like, double that amount of time could happen even by then. That's rarer, but it could happen. Like, adding like 3 or 4 sessions, that's kind of more sanity.
Funny enough, when I'm estimating, I generally do the rule of I add 0.5 to how long I think something's going to take. So it's like I add half. So if I think in 25 sessions, I'll be like probably closer to, 37, 35, 37.
I'll tell you, I originally was saying like I was estimating for 20. So I was like, well, 20 to 30, that's kind of where I put it at. We're at 25. But also, I think because of a lot of the major story changes, I'm like, I can see right now 5 to 10 more sessions, honestly. Depending on some of the choices you make and the interactions you do. But
Yeah, I was hoping for a little bit more time in the city political, but Jailbreak kind of ruined that.
Jailbreak was horrifically unexpected by me, and I expected them to at least get an interview in before they would try to break out. They didn't even
Yeah.
wait to talk to anybody.
They literally sent in the other person to stall for time so they can escape.
Yeah. It was 3 seconds in, and they're like, all right, break out of jail.
It's just kind of like, you guys know I got away. Why do we, like, I honestly, like, Ixminor was like, man, I wish I went with them, because it would have been so much easier.
I mean, like, I did
to
have...
be fair, I still think they might have broken out, but they might have done it while I was talking my way out of it.
It just ended up being so much more interesting, but also, like, horrifically... none of that kind of stuff was expected. Like, you know...
I mean, it derailed the entire thing we were working towards.
It really did, but I was like, at least there was enough in the background I can, like, have things happen, but it also means that, like, I can... Like, I'm not gonna lie, I can keep things rolling at an easy pace as I know where the story is going to end up without you, you know?
I mean, the whole goal for us was to make sure the people... I think we have enough infrastructure to get those people to the place we want them. You know, they're refugees.
Yes.
But like the issue we had is just more like, okay, well, we can't do that with certainty, and we're probably gonna have trouble when we get there because we won't have the permission of the king to enter this fortress. So there's some issues later, but for now, the refugees are safe.
Yes, there are things that you did put in place which will help, but like there will be I'm going to say there are consequences to the actions, and they will exist.
Yes.
And they'll be fun
and
ones.
Ixminor will glare at them every time they happen.
Yep. It'll be fun. It'll be fine.
I'm sorry. Did you ever write up the description, like what those daggers do?
I haven't put them in stats, unfortunately, just because, like, as I said, their abilities are meant to be used on helpless individuals. So, like,
yes.
you know, you're not meant to use them on an enemy. But I think they're probably just, like, basically magical +1 daggers almost otherwise, you know.
Well, yeah.
If you
I feel like,
combat.
yeah.
But I have to figure
like
out
the
more
other
what
one.
to do,
Yeah, I feel like the flesh rend. I mean, I feel like you give the flesh rend to basic bleed thing, like it does bleed.
Yeah.
But then I would also like give the soul one, like, oh yeah, if a creature is at 0 hit points but stable, or you know, at 0 hit points and maybe even wounded or dying or something, then you can do this thing, you know.
Yes, I think that's probably kind of what it does. So if you get someone into like the dying / disabled position, you can do like horrific things to them. Yay! Evil daggers.
You might also be able to do something like give them the doomed condition. That actually might be feasible as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like every time if it would drop them, they get doomed 1, and every time you hit them after that, it would give them an additional level or something, you know, which just drives them to death quicker.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, the doom condition. So the doom condition reduces the dying, basically how many dying they need. So basically, the idea is, I think the idea is if you get them to doom 4. Is like maybe if you like you use it so like if you get them to doom 4, then when they die, you can do this other thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That might be an interesting way to do it. Yeah. I think like if someone decides to like I've kind of put it on the back burner because also I don't know if any of you are going to try to use them. It is a weapon outside your purview.
I mean, I agree. I want you to stat them and make them kind of good. To see if Calder will use them.
Oh, the temptation to be evil. Oh, I see what you're saying. I guess why don't we switch gears and talk about this week, because I think we had a good discussion on Hex Crawls, so we'll do this. So just to say, we won't be able to talk about Joe's game next week. We're canceling it. It's not going to be tomorrow, just because we want to have everybody. So, but
yeah, he planned a big dungeon and he wants everyone there for the start of it, so it makes sense.
I understand that, you know.
I do too, and I kind of like the break. Sometimes, like, having Joe's game can be, like, it literally means, like, I basically only have a weekend every other weekend, because Saturdays I do this stream and then this, and then Sundays it's my stream and then Joe's game, like every other Sunday.
I'm not gonna lie. There are weeks that I only have one kind of day off, and that's Mondays. Because my Sundays are usually very busy with a lot of stuff, and then discussing tabletop. And then my Sundays, Joe's game, while it is not necessarily the most busy thing, it does take up a good chunk of time, and I have to plan around it. And usually there's other stuff I'm doing then. And then there's like going to my grandmother, which I love her, but it's 2 hours each way. You know, it's a commitment. Those weeks I go, so it's like my Sundays tend to be very busy. Also, but yeah, I think we had fall, and then you had your game. Is there anything else you did this week just before we headed to fall and stuff like that?
I mean, unless you want me to talk about the spreadsheets I made for my Saturday game.
I mean, if you want to talk about them when you talk about the Saturday game, we'll put that there. But yeah, no, we finished up the little exploration in Fall of Avonswell. So here's the thing: I had the combat. The only other thing that I necessarily had planned for that dungeon at that point in time, even after the week, getting an extra week in there, was I knew about the big rats. So the treasure, when you guys remembered that, I basically put together that on the fly, and I'm like, who would leave this here? Some kind of thief. And I'm like, what things do you need? Rat repellent.
What do you mean when we remembered it? You're the one who said, by the way, you see a chest in there. I'm like,
did I say that?
Yeah, that was you.
I thought someone mentioned it.
We actually almost I did. I said, I actually said, is that I did kind of, I asked, so is that chest just on the map you found, or is it actually there?
Oh.
And then
I'm like, oh yeah, it's a thing.
yeah. But then that's the thing. You didn't answer me right away. People started because Joe was so focused on healing.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we all kind of forgot about it, and then you reminded us.
See, I was thinking I was getting back to it rather than reminding you. You know, they was thinking it's like hold a minute and let me finish with this, and I'll get back to that. So it's like you mentioned it would have been forgotten, but then I was like, okay, we're back to that. Cool, great.
Yeah.
But I did have to because honestly, Joe had mentioned it the previous week. And so I was like, oh, I have to do something with that, and I forgot to then, kind of, and then that's why I was like, I put something together with it and gave you the rat repellent and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Which you know, that was just a kind of like extension of what was going on. I loved using that, you know. I'm not gonna lie.
I like how we spent what was it, a half an hour just trying to decide whether to go to the rat repellent or the other way.
I'm not gonna lie. All the thing would have the other way would have just taken a little longer. That's all it would have been. It would have been a detour. It would have been a detour. But I
thought we would have run into a fight with a slime, to be honest. Or an ooze.
There would have been a possibility of something I might have had you fight, but technically that was a giant slug.
Okay.
Yeah. But that would have also been a less hostile enemy. It would have just been like more annoying and kind of having to go around it and maybe fight it, you know.
Honestly, I'm glad we used the rat repellent, because otherwise we would have just hoarded it. And I like actually using the items we get.
I do like it when you have an opportunity to, and you remember to. I try to do that like in Joe's game, because I'm like, I have this box of stuff. Can I use anything? I have to do that all the time.
Yeah, I do that in Joe's game too sometimes. I do forget a lot though.
It's like blind crystal, go.
I do constantly forget that I have the Jade Owl in his game.
But yeah, so you had a couple more encounters. You got out of the dungeon. You managed to meet up with Talos at the local inn nearby, and so you're planning your journey. It was a quest. You got an extra little dungeon in there, half dungeon kind of.
Yeah, too bad the elves don't believe that he exists.
What?
You called him Talos.
Talos. Yes, I went Elder Scrolls.
I know. Anyway,
look, I'm not gonna lie. The sheer fact I got that joke.
So we'll head out and see what happens next.
Yeah. No. I still have to decide how I'm going to handle the journey there, because I want to add some things, but I haven't decided how and what I want to add. That's kind of where I'm at with it. That I'll just have to figure out this week, because I kind of know where you're going, and then the explorations after that I kind of have an idea of what's going to be happening, but I have to see how much I want to plan out.
Yeah, too bad Escrit played that swashbuckler at the beginning, because otherwise my second character idea would have been very interesting here. My second character idea was a swashbuckling minotaur.
Yeah, that would have been interesting because it's the fact that like you would have. Here's the thing: you probably would have been in exile from your people. Honestly,
Interesting.
they don't really leave their people unless they're exiled, and then or rarely for other reasons. So again, there are a few other reasons. So like that would have been an interesting thing of like, I gotta go back home.
No, that would make sense because like the idea of my character would have been like, oh yeah, no, I just wanted to go and I just wanted to go and dance. Like that was like that would have been the character's idea. Like I want to be a performer, a dance performer.
And it's sort of like it's less of like well, you can dance here. You don't have to go to the with those other people, the outsiders.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was my other concept. That
it would.
I was like, man, that would have been interesting to have that character if we were here.
It would, but I don't even know if you'd end up in the direction you are now because again, like it's that entire thing of like.
That's fair.
The little thing
has
your combined knowledge with the weird crap Joe keeps doing keeps like drawing you in interesting directions.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's actually interesting because that was basically like when Eskrit was a swashbuckler. I was like, okay, well, that made my choice for me. We're not gonna have two of those.
Yeah. So yeah. I think the session went well. I have a good time with that one. The amount of directions you guys have gone that I'm like I half expect sometimes. It's just like I'm much more at this point in time. I'm like, okay, what are you guys going to do this time?
To be fair, our party really is like 3 dogs pulling on a rope.
You are. Oh my god.
It's like you never know which direction we're actually going to start heading in.
You kind of know where you're going to end up, but how you get there, the 3 dogs will determine that.
Yeah.
It's you're gonna get home. You just don't know how you're gonna get home sometimes.
Yep. So yeah, no, because we all have such different ideas about like Calder's always, oh, we should definitely go not help those people and save ourselves. Umbran's always like, oh no, we need to take our time. We need to wait. We need to rest. We need to. So
Calder's the guy of like, sure, I'm down for saving the world, but let's just save everybody and worry about it later. We don't have to help those guys out. It's like,
yeah.
I'm fine with the big picture. Let's just ignore the little picture. You're like, cool, let's do this, but we can also probably help along the way. And then Umbran's like,
yeah.
What's this weird esoteric thing? It can probably help us out. Do not worry about it. I will lift up the horrible totem. It's like oozing black magic and stuff like that. And you're like, I just see you like face palming, as a ferret or something.
Yep.
You're just an interesting butch. How did your game go?
You really gotta stop touching the things that are obviously cursed.
He's not going to. He's gonna keep touching the cursed things. How'd your game?
Today was not a ton. It was just a lot of. We basically traveled from. What was it? Was it Gray Space? I think we traveled from Gray Space to Tears.
Oh,
yeah, I know. I'm just trying to. Is Oeth or?
Yeah, Oeth is Tier Space. Yeah.
No, Oerth is not Tier Space. Tier is Tier Space, but Oerth is.
Oh, that's right. Oerth is
that Gray
Realm
Space?
Realm Space.
Realm Space. Thank you. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we must have been in. So we were in Realm Space. We traveled from Realm Space to Tier Space. I just forgot what the space was. I remember the planet.
Oh.
No.
Is it
no,
Gray
that's
Space?
Not Realm Space.
It's Gray Space. It's Realm Space.
It is Gray Space. I was right. Realm Space would have been.
Realm Space is not. Realm Space is Toral.
Toral, yeah.
Gray Space is Oerth because that's Greyhawk. And
yes.
Tyr is Dragonlance, and I think that is Tier Space.
Kryn is
Kryn. No, Kryn is Dragonlance. And
Tyr,
that's right.
I do not remember.
Most of these I don't reference enough to remember them. I've got to admit, it is the same kind of thing of like I reference some of these occasionally, but some of them I just don't enough to like be like, oh yeah, that one. It's sort of like your Kryn Space, Gray Space, and Realm Space are your traditional core of it anyway. So
Tier is a Spelljammer only setting.
oh, okay.
Mhm.
That's why I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
Yeah. It's basically constant conflict between Grey Elves and Drow.
Oh, gotcha. I know I've heard that one before, but I'm just remembering it perfectly.
Yeah. I think when you heard Tier, I think you're thinking of the God Tier from Realm Space.
Yes, I believe you are correct in that. That sounds about right.
Because there is a right Tier Forgotten Realms. Yeah, Tier is a Forgotten Realms deity. But yeah, we ran into a shipwreck as a random thing, and then we ran into a Kraken, which is basically a space kraken.
Yep, sounds about right.
And our druid who just hit level 6, or who just got 6th level spells.
Ooh.
After our last adventure, one-shot it.
I was going to joke about, did he successfully defeat his previous mentor in order to gain his power?
So basically, he had a spell that was fire damage, but it wasn't. So most fire damage spells, you like shoot out fire, and for the phlogiston, it states that it blows up in your face. You know,
yeah.
If you do cast any fire spells,
yeah,
because you're in the phlogiston. But this was you throw a gem at a creature, and if you hit, it explodes, dealing fire damage. And so he basically used the spell, and yeah, the gem was 500 GP, so it was a expensive attack, but for one attack, but dealing 3 times damage in one shot the Kraken for a 6 ring spell.
Yep. Go grenade, go.
go gem grenade.
Look, God, what was it? I'll always remember 3rd edition that had a druid spell that did 5d6 damage over an entire geographical region. That was a thing. What book was that from? I don't remember what book it was from. It was something that one of my friends had as a book, but it was funny. Druids do crazy shit, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Druids be crazy. They're fun.
66 fire damage is what the spell was, and he did 3 times that.
Yep.
So 18d6 fire damage.
And
things have a lot less hit points in 2e.
Yes, I think that's the other thing that you have to kind of reflect upon, is that things aren't as beefy or hit diced up in older editions. It is a much more modern thing to like have as many hit dice as things do now. Like having 20 would have been impressive, which again, it could have had like 15 dice, and had some hit points.
Yeah,
but still, on that 18, that's a good amount of dice to roll. Good chance of boom. Also, you rolled hit dice for things in the old days, even enemies. So,
I mean, you technically still do in modern D&D, just no one does it.
Yeah,
you still can in modern D&D, but no one does it.
But you're supposed to all the time for then. So I'm assuming the thing could have also had lower hit dice than you'd like, or on lower side hit dice, which just made it more vulnerable to the explosion.
Yeah.
But fun. A little bit space cracking. Boom.
And then we made it to tier space, and basically everything that happened in between all of this was basically people rolling for what they're doing, like learning spells and doing that kind of stuff, because it's like 2 months, and it's like, okay, we basically go week by week of what people are doing.
The months of journeying is quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, spreadsheet?
Oh yeah, so if you're curious, I basically made a spreadsheet for my equipment, because basically I was just, I forget what it was, but like something came up and I was just like, I wanted to make a equipment spreadsheet for my character. And so I made a stupidly detailed spreadsheet where I can then select containers and then put what I want in those containers all in Google Sheet.
Yep.
So now I can easily track how much I'm carrying.
It's fine. It's fine. Look, there's definitely... I like good... As I said, I think I like a good spreadsheet occasionally. There's times and places for certain characters. There's characters I need them.
And the GM actually says, basically, like, you can he does want us to keep track of our weight for the most part, but, like, how much you want to generalize it or not is kind of up to you.
Okay.
Like, I'm not even generalizing it as much as one of our one of our players. I'm not even doing as specific as one of our players who is literally tracking like the weight of every spell component and keeping track of that.
Ah, gotcha. Cool.
Because you actually have to, because like basically he's just like, I was just like, that's what it's like. So how much would like a spell component with a reasonable amount of components be? And he's like, about this much.
The reasonable amount
actually
is
in the
important
rules, so the GM had to decide.
And yeah, reasonable amounts are, well, important to keep track of too. I think that's the other thing too. Is like when it comes to weight, just being reasonable about what you talk about.
I mean, he wants us to keep track of any component that costs money separately, which is fair.
I see that. All right. Well, sounds like a good time. And as I said, I don't think any of us really did anything else this week, so we can kind of leave to our end for today.
Yep.
So thank you everybody for joining us. It was a good one. I think we had some good discussions here, some interesting topics, and a fun little week to talk about. I will turn it over to you, Worm, for a shout out.
Yeah. I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter and Blue Sky and DiamondWyrm9234 on YouTube. I will probably be streaming tomorrow. I'll probably be back to Tactical Breach Wizards because I've been doing 2 weeks of Hollow Knight Silksong and then 1 week of Tactical Breach Wizards. So I'll probably be doing that tomorrow.
Cool. Sounds like fun. Myself. Hi. That's Dracovin. This is technically my channel, so if you want to go check out this, go watch the VODs, see everything, watch this if you're not joining us live. Hey, that's over on YouTube. YouTube's where I have all my tabletop stuff, things like Fall of Avens, what we talked about, gets put up on there. So if you can't join us live for this show, Saturdays at 6, or Fall of Avens, Wednesday at 8, go check it out there. Make sure to check out my social media for all the kind of updates and kind of schedules and all that kind of stuff. I'll be back Tuesday. Probably with some more Silksong. I'm gonna again try to keep working on my schedule. As I've said, streaming later in the day has been better for me mentally and like for my schedule that kind of way and stressful wise. But it also means I've been exact knowing my time for when I'm streaming. I sacrificed that.
Yeah. It also sacrificed me being able to watch you, because generally when you start, it's a little like, I have an hour left of work, and then I have to drive home, and then I have to do something else.
Yeah, I am trying to still get it a little earlier, but it's just kind of trying to figure out the earlier in the day schedule a little bit. And that's been a challenge. So eventually I'll get there. Figure it out. Anyway, all right, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. Till next time, I bid all of you farewell. Goodbye.